Okay, so I'm Cynthia, and I'm the host of the reality series CPS the Horror Stories. I am not an attorney or a social worker. I'm a mom who had her children kidnapped by CPS a few years ago. After fighting for 2 years, I did get my kids back, and now I have this show on this platform to allow parents and family members to come on and just share the devastation, traumatic events, and corruption that CPS causes our lives. So would the three of you kindly introduce yourselves again for everybody and tell us where you're from and what you do and just a little bit about you?
Okay, I am Ron, and I'm the grandfather of the boys. I work maintenance at a nursing home hospital, and we live in Indiana, Adams County. And we lived here for almost probably 45 years.
I'm Mandy, and I work at a store, cashier, shift management, shift leader, whatever you want to call it. I do a little bit of everything. I am their mother.
And I am Sandy, the grandmother, and this is what this ordeal has done to me. Can you see this?
Yes.
I had to have part of my leg amputated because of diabetes and anxiety. And I'm not going to point any fingers as to who caused that.
Okay, well, let's get started. Tell me how many children are involved and the ages.
2 boys, 11 and 9.
Okay. Now, did any of you have any CPS involvement any other time in your lives other than this?
No.
Well,
Before this, no.
No.
okay.
Before
No.
this, no.
Okay. So when did this start and why did it start?
In 2017, I picked my kids up from a visit and from their dad, and I bring them home, and I go back into town, and my son revealed that he was sexually molested by his father, to the point where he gave very graphic details of saran wrap, duct tape, and pretty much everything that happened to him.
Can you,
And
would it be too difficult for you to share with us what happened?
he said that his dad molested him. He put duct tape around his penis, saran wrap, used duct tape, and then stuck his penis in his butt. And my middle one, who is 9, my ex has put him in the hospital numerous times through milk. My middle son, he is allergic to milk, eggs, and peanuts. And he had a severe allergic reaction to peanut one night, and he put him in the hospital.
And he molested both of them.
And he molested both of them to the point where I took them to a sexual assault treatment center, and they each give a statement, and now the kids are nowhere to be found.
And this was all turned over to DCS.
And this was all turned over to DCS. And they unsubstantiated it. And we found out that a personal friend of theirs, am I allowed to give her name?
No.
Is a personal friend of hers, and on 90% of the documents she had unsubstantiated on. And she was also a higher up DCS worker. And my ex-husband has always told me that he will never get caught because it's all who he knows and what he knows.
And he's threatened to kill her and Ron and I, and the boys and everybody.
He's had protective orders against him off and on ever since these boys has been born.
Threatening to kidnap them, being abusive to me. It's never ending.
It seems like DCS is all they ever wanted to do is close out the case.
One DCS worker had the pediatrician statement, a Sante group statement, a counselor's report, and she unsubstantiated it within 5 hours. Never called the pediatrician, never got the report, never interviewed us. She unsubstantiated and moved on
And
within 5 hours.
the DCS workers never checked anything out with anybody. Never talked to the boys, never talked to any of us. Just went ahead and said it's unsubstantiated.
Let's see what else. This is a long story. I mean, there's all kind of different things
Well, don't
that
worry
lead
about.
on to this.
Yeah, don't worry about how long it is. We'll get through it. Let's start from day one.
Let me give you a little background about the father. He's when he was a juvenile, he was molested by his stepbrother, and he was removed and put in this so-called foster, but they weren't foster parents, weren't licensed, and they took him in, and this was through a caseworker that was friends.
Was personal friends with them.
DCS.
And it just, that's the reason why these people got William, because this person was a caseworker and knew not the licensed, but they weren't licensed foster parents, but knew them quite well and said, hey, we need an emergency basis. Can you take him in? So they did. So my ex-husband went and lived with them for a while, and it's his half brother. His mom and dad, my ex-husband's family, got married at previous times and then divorced, and they each had a kid. So this would have been his half brother that molested him. So there's been numerous cases to where molesting is still happening in that family, and he eventually got caught and went to prison for this.
This caseworker and these people that took him in are friends, and they live in the same town, and we think there's a connection there.
And there's a CASA worker involved in this too.
And
they're all friends and they know each other.
And I have a recording to where the CASA worker had stated to me that my ex-husband, the judge, and my ex-husband's attorney had a private meeting.
And the CASA worker.
With the judge. So where was my private meeting with the judge?
After that, you lost the boys.
And after that, that's when I lost the boys.
So
the judge is currently on this, had everything from my side shut down because he knew that I had a lot of evidence on that end. And so he shut everything down on my part. So I am not allowed to present any of my stuff.
Especially the sexual abuse.
Especially the sexual abuse.
I told Mr. Davis the other day about this judge when I was talking to him, that this judge is big in VA help, like an AA or whatever.
Right.
He started a meeting, and they meet every 2 months or 2 times a month. And her ex-husband was a veteran. He was in the Navy for 15 to 18 years, and he got schizophrenic. He's got 3 different things: depression and a lot of things. So he is discharged out of the Navy because of his mental capacity.
Not the shooting.
And anyhow, that's what is. He's mental. He's supposed to do meetings with the VA and so on and so forth. So that's why I said this has to be a conflict of interest, because he shut everything down. Every time, the last time we went to court to try to get Amanda off or get her changed from modified. So anyhow, that's part of the conflict of interest. There is what we're saying. Hey, the DCFS workers, we were in court, and our lawyer asked about who they contacted on. There's 20 some different cases that was turned in court. And
Why is there a conflict of interest?
We can.
What?
you're breaking, because the judge sponsored this
No.
for veterans, and this guy is a veteran.
And the judge has allowed a private meeting with my ex-husband.
It's for veterans that have problems, like from in the military or whatever. Like her ex-husband had mental problems, and so he would go to all these meetings with this judge.
Drugs and alcohol. I don't know if he did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Also, is what happened after the boys were taken away. These people lived in a city, and they moved over to Ohio without permission. And then we protested that the next time we went to court. And he said, well, as long as he meets the visits and everything else, it's fine. He let him get by with it. But now the boys are over in Ohio, so we have anybody here that tries to research anything can't go to Ohio and get stuff. Everything is just a mess. And to me, that shouldn't have been allowed either.
And Mandy is so shut down as their mother that she can't talk to their doctors or find out who it is or get their school records or nothing.
And we tried to go to court and get that changed. And he told us that I'm not taking any reports. I'm not taking anything. It hasn't been long enough.
And here's this crazy thing. The CASA worker was in court the one day when my ex-husband tried to punch my attorney.
Yeah.
And she took the stand and said that his behavior was okay. That she didn't see any problems with his behavior in trying to punch
upset.
my lawyer.
And he's threatened to kill one of our judges.
He's threatened to kill me. I don't know how many times he's threatened to kill me. He's threatening to kill my youngest.
We started one day in court, and the judge walked in, and the bailiff said, all rise. Well, he wouldn't stand up. He stayed seated. And the judge started without him, said, okay, if that's, so on, we're going to proceed. Well, about 5 minutes into it, our lawyer called a recess, and they emptied the courtroom, and they wanted us all down because they was afraid he might have a gun. This is his capacity.
When he would go for visits with his two boys, he would carry a hatchet in his car.
And then told them that if they told on him anymore, that he was going to use the hatchet on him. And the CPS, Joel, drew, one of the boys had drawn a picture of the hatchet, and it was right there in the middle console for easy reaching.
And the DCS worker said that's just boys talking.
We had a case one time when he's allergic to peanut butter, and he fed him peanut butter. And the caseworker, she was going to come down and write it up and everything.
And try to get him for medical abuse. She was taken off the case.
We had bad weather, so she called and canceled it. She was going to come later on in a week. And by the time that came, she called and said she can't come down. She's off the case. And there were several times where people was on the case and they were taken off.
So let's start back from day one. Okay. Why was CPS originally called?
because he had sexually molested the boys and he tried to kill Luke by
No,
his
the younger one.
allergies.
Yeah, the younger one.
What?
I'm
Oh,
sorry?
you said
And
his.
they hold it against me because I would hear the boys' prayers at night, and I said, pray for the people who have a lot of hate in their hearts. And the older boy said, like my dad, and I said, if you think he has hate in his heart, yes. So they held that against me and thought I was putting that in the boy's head. And then the older boy was troubled at school by a bully, and I suppose I shouldn't have said it, but I said, hey, the next time he does it to you, I mean, the older boy had marks on his body from him. I said, just kick him in the nuts. Well, they turned it around and said that I said he was supposed to do that to his dad.
So
The way
who called CPS? You did, Mom?
No, I did not. Not on the very first time. I did not. I took them to a hospital, and they called.
Okay.
So
what
a hospital called DCS and told DCS that Luke had a severe reaction, or the middle one had a severe reaction, and that this is what was going on. And then so they went into another room, and they got the oldest, and they asked him questions, and he said that his dad had molested him.
And then the hospital called CPS.
Yes, hospital had done numerous calling on CPS,
And every one of those cases came back unsubstantiated.
and every one of them cases that when the hospital called, they came back unsubstantiated.
one of the first times it happened, the boys, it was on a Sunday night, and the boys came back from a visit on Saturday, and we hadn't seen them much. And Grandma and I was sitting on the couch, and the older one, he was sitting by us, and he was just acting kind of funny.
Real quiet.
And we asked him, how the visit was, how this and that. And he just wouldn't talk, and we started saying, "You have fun and all this." And pretty soon he took his thumb and pointed down like, he wasn't having any fun. And we started questioning, finding out, and this is kind of the start of the molesting. We finally got it out of him. He said his dad touched him. He said he told him body safety, and all. He learned that in school. And
he even described the room that they were in, and the stepmom
had a camera on her
and
hand
was videoing this.
and the videoing this.
but all
The
this,
stepmom was involved, and now they're getting a divorce.
there's so many things unknown here, and you can't get answers from anybody. This thing is shut down so tight you can't get hardly any answers.
And the boys don't want to talk because they're scared to death of what their dad's going to do.
Their dad has already threatened to kill my youngest.
And she has 3 boys.
I have 3 boys, and now because of this, I'm in supervised visits because they said that I have this mental condition. Well, I've talked to seven specialists, and they said that we cannot diagnose you with this. So because of this, and because they put it in black and white, I am able to sue DCS for falsely accusing someone of a medical condition that they do not have.
See, they're saying that every time that they reported this to a hospital, and then hospital will call DCS or the police, and they all came back unsubstantiated, they said that our daughter put this in the boy's head.
But yet, how does pictures and rashes and everything else put that in their head? And my son telling me I can't breathe.
Okay. When you went to the doctors or the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
stop. No. How soon after did they show up at your house?
It was days later. Like 2 days later, 3 days later. One time it was in a week later.
Sometimes it didn't even come.
And most of the times they didn't even come.
Actually, we lived with the boys, so we knew them real well. And nobody ever interviewed us or came and questioned us.
Never.
Never.
And they supposedly went there and questioned him, but we found out that they never did.
Who had custody of the boys?
I did. I won custody twice. I
What
won
was
custody.
the visitation for the dad?
Supervised visits, because he had mental condition. He lost his he got angry in court, and the judge
No.
supervised him to visit.
No. What was the custody before this happened?
I had primary physical custody.
How much did dad have?
He had he was in the military at the time, so whenever he came home, he got the kids for like 4 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours. Whenever it was fit for him is however long he had it, but it was no more than 5 hours.
It was 7 hours when he went up there.
He
for
was
visits.
court ordered to have 7 hours one time, and he only had the boys for 3 hours and brought them back.
So in that short time, he's molesting the boys.
No, this was.
Then he wasn't.
Yes,
Yes,
he was.
yes.
At Clifton's.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. You're right.
Yes, he would do this at Clifton's and then bring them back.
Foster parents.
What?
I'm sorry, I gave.
When he would have them, he was living at the time with the so-called foster parents. So he would take these 2 boys to the foster parents, and he and his wife were there with the foster parents and the 2 boys, and he molested them.
And his ex-wife would video him being molested.
But is this while the CPS case is open or prior?
It was open.
It was never hardly open more than 30 days.
Yeah, it was always unsubstantiated. Within 30 days, they were closed every time.
And most of the time, it would just be 2 or 3 days. And most of the time, when you ask the question of, did they ever come here? No, they never did. They had it open for maybe 2 days, and that was it.
Okay,
And they would never interview us.
Hold on, because I'm getting really confused. Okay, let's start with this question. How many times has CPS been in your life? Is this
these boys?
Is this a one-time thing that has been lasting? Or is this they've come several different times and had little cases or something like that? I'm just confused.
This has been one time, several times.
See, what happened was the boys would come home and tell us that their dad did the bad thing to them again. She would take them up to an area hospital. The hospital personnel would call DCS in every time we did that, because the police told us, report it. Well, we did, and then it looked like it dug a deep hole for her, because they're saying that she put this stuff in the boys' heads. She let them go for visits with their dad whenever he wanted them.
And the police had asked me why, if I thought this was going on, why in my right mind would I send my kids? Because I was told by the attorney that if I didn't, I would go to jail.
So did they have you on failure to protect?
No, they never had me on failure to protect, but I eventually kept the boys from him to protect my children, and they said that that was alienation. So that they worked against me.
So what are the accusations against you?
That I have some type of mental condition.
No, that you put this stuff in the boy's head,
And
which was alienating them, and that's how they took this away. Said she was an unfit mother because that's a serious crime if they prove that. And also DCS brought charges against her for this separately. She had to, DCS took her to court also. We had a lawyer that didn't represent us very well. They kept saying, well, DCS don't have anything and so on and so forth. And they had these 20-some reports. And our lawyer never combated any of them or argued any of them.
And that went in front of an appellate judge. And
But he wasn't even a judge. He was just
That don't matter.
He was just someone to take on
It
the
don't
case.
matter. So anyhow, they fined her for that. That also went against her, so she has that hanging over her head too.
so for
What?
2.5
No.
years, she paid for supervised visits.
So you have to pay to visit your children.
Yes.
$108 every week.
2 hours. And we as grandparents, we haven't got to see him, and we were very close. And the biggest saying that I am against is they always say, what is in the best interest of the children? That kills me. That is the
Because
biggest false
nobody
statement
gives a
that there
damn
is.
about the kids. Nobody. Nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn about the kids.
So when CPS first came, they didn't take the boys right away, correct?
No.
How long from the first time they came?
Probably a year.
CPS never took the boys. The judge ordered my ex-husband to have custody.
This started in 2017,
All the way
and it
up.
went through. We had a two-day court in December of 2017,
No.
and
That was the
in
turning
February of 2018 they took the boys, and until then the boys only spent like 7 hours on a Saturday with him, so they didn't know him at that time. So the best interest of the kids, they just ripped him out of this house, never gave him any transition time, never gave him any. We didn't get to see him. The only person that got to see him was Manda for 2 hours on Saturday. They never let us see they were very close to us, and they never let us see him. And the boys, I'm sure the boys wondered what they did wrong. They never gave him counseling, never provided counseling for him,
checked on him.
never checked on him or anything else.
DCS said they're fine. When we had the 2-day court hearing, there was a whole bunch of DCS workers in the courtroom, and they all took the stand.
And they all said that they never
Don't butt in,
called, they
Amanda.
never did anything that they were supposed to do.
So, okay, from day one until the judge gave the dad custody, what was happening in that time?
Well, to us, it seemed like they were building a case. So every time the boys would come home and say their dad did this to them, she would take them up to that hospital. They would call DCS. So all these were written down saying that she's nuts and that she put it in the boys' heads.
But in
The
the
DCS
report,
When the DCS had a case, and they said that I made all these phone calls, there was only one time when I called DCS.
Yeah, the hospital did.
The
Yep.
police and people wouldn't even take her call anymore. And he just kept doing it. The boys kept coming home. When the boys found out they had a visit on Saturday, they would lock themselves in the bedroom, and they went nuts.
but
we told them that they had to go because
Listen,
their mother would be put in jail.
when you would take them to the hospital, was there proof of this stuff happening?
oh my God, there was numerous proofs. My son had.
No, the molesting.
There was numerous proofs. His area would be red, irritated, touched. I mean,
And then there was a rape kit.
the rape
They
kit
took
was.
all the samples. They took his clothes and kept them.
Yeah, there was.
We don't know where that is. That has not turned up, and that's
And-
over 2 years ago.
It's still out there, but nobody can get it because the judge has it locked up. Nobody can touch it. If she pursues any of this stuff,
I go to jail.
they
It's
could
an
put her in
automatic-
jail.
It's
And
automatic
She
jail.
will never see her boys again, they said.
The lawyer we had that went to court over this, we started telling him that, he didn't believe us. So he said, evidently, he must have had contact with the judge. The judge said, or he said, if you start talking molesting or that, he said, we're done.
And CPS even told the attorney at the time for CPS said that they didn't have a case against me, that there was that they had to go off record, and she said that she used the F word a couple times, the CPS attorney did, and she even called her client stupid, basically, and yet somehow they still
Made it stick.
they somehow made it stick. And then we went back on record, and the CPS attorney, which in the transcript said that they don't have a case against me. There's nothing against me. But somehow, again, they made it stick.
So
Again, these people, these caseworkers are friends of the family, of the foster family.
And the judge.
And the judge.
And the constable.
They're all connected together. We're working on trying to prove that, but we're still searching. You can't find information out.
So what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
It's okay. I forgot. So who has the boys?
This complicated?
What?
Have you ever seen a case this complicated?
Most of them are complicated, to be honest.
Really?
Mhm. Yeah, I would.
How do you get information when it's all locked up and sealed up and stuff?
I don't know, and I don't really know a lot of the legal part of things, just because I'm not an attorney and I don't have the experience in that, you know. So
we've been searching for somebody where we could go and get somebody to help us.
I understand.
We got private eyes and everybody hired.
Listen, what were you gonna say?
Where are the boys right now?
They're with their father. They live with him.
In Ohio.
In Ohio, which is about an hour and some minutes away.
So you had said that he molested them while the case was open and they were in a foster care, correct?
No, my kids were never in foster care. Yes, when the case was open, he would still molest them.
When you had custody of them?
When I had custody of them, yes, the case would be open and he would still molest them. And so it got to be to the point where even at the drop-off pickup point, it went to a police station, and 2 police officers were right there. Joel, the oldest one, no more, got out of the vehicle and in front of the cops said, "Hey, my dad molested me again." And the cop took my oldest and took him over to the side, and he said, "Okay, can you give me details?" And word for word, it was very graphic, and the officer called CPS. He said, "Your child is not lying. He is telling the truth."
Did you hear what was said?
Yes.
What was said?
His dad at the time, his dad took my oldest aside, put him in the bathroom, pulled his pants down, started touching his penis, and asked my oldest if it felt okay, and then he proceeded to put his mouth on it, and then had my son take a shower to wash off evidence. So you tell me what child would know that, especially the age that he was. He was only
8.
8 at the time.
We had never heard of the duct tape deal.
I
And we
don't
had-
understand that. Can you explain that?
Well, here's what we found out from
Your pediatrician.
my pediatrician. My pediatrician told me that they will, instead of using condoms, which my son had, we showed him, the pediatrician had showed him a couple pictures, and my son pointed to a condom. He didn't know what it was called, but he pointed to the condom. The pediatrician also said that they will occasionally use a bubble wrap, and they will put it over the penis and use tape in order to cover up evidence, DNA. He said that he's seen it. He's been a pediatrician for like almost, I mean, the guy's like 80 years old. And he said that he's seen it more than once, to where any parent would go to great lengths into covering up DNA.
And he testified in court too, all of this,
That it happened.
and they threw it out.
And he even said that the kids had bruises a week after. The week after that, you know, he said, so I reported it to CPS.
The older one would complain that he was sore around his private area.
And my middle one said that it hurt to poop.
We have a lot of this stuff on reports where they were questioned by police officers and different agents,
They all got shot down.
and everything got unsubstantiated by this.
The hospital told
Friend.
me that from now on to have a police officer out, because the police are not going to lie. The hospital is not going to lie in order to protect them. So they recommended that police start being out there, and that's what I did. I did everything that the hospital told me to do. I did what officers told me to do, and there was so many officers that when they asked where this happened, it was out of jurisdiction. Otherwise, they would have been arrested. He would have been arrested for this. So that's why the officer in New Haven, when this happened, in New Haven, Indiana, he said that it's all who he knows and what he knows. Because if my son, when he asked him where did this happen at, even if he was to lie at the gas station there, he said this is enough to arrest him.
When they moved to Ohio, they had a domestic fight between his wife and him. The cops was there. The cops has been at this place several times in the last couple of years.
The stepmom couldn't find the 2 boys, and they had run away because they hated there. And when she did find them, she started beating them with a squeegee to wash windows with.
And so
Left huge bruise on the older one's bottom.
So we found out that CPS, when the place where I'm having visits from, they had orders to call CPS. No, you call the hotline, and then the hotline passes us on to whatever state this was. So again, they tried to cover it up. Well, we went to Ohio, and the CPS worker there took it very seriously, because she was mad. She had to come back from a shopping trip, went over to the house, and they admitted to where they had beat my child, and they substantiated on that. They wrote up a report that
But
they
she
had
pleaded and got a lesser penalty.
but because she pleaded, she got a lesser penalty over this.
Which was what?
Like a misdemeanor.
Like a misdemeanor.
But yet they still have the children.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
she and him are getting a divorce now.
And so because she moved out and he didn't do it, it's okay for the kids to live there. That's what they came back and said.
She and him have 2 daughters together, and they got into a domestic fight with the 2 boys there, and she was 6 months pregnant with their youngest daughter, and he drug her through the house by her ponytail and threw her out the back door and locked the door and called the police, and the police came over, and She thinks that during that time when she was locked out, that he scratched his own throat, neck, and made it look like she was abusive to him.
Has she, since they're getting divorced now, has she talked to you and like,
Yeah, she said that he's been abusive to her too.
And
so
she doesn't want us to know that she was involved in anything molesting because she knows that she'll go to jail.
was
So
she
we can't
forced
confront her
to
with
do
it.
it?
No, she was videoing it.
But was
Yeah,
she,
the ex-wife was videoing it.
right, but was she forced to do it?
Probably.
Don't know that.
Yeah, I don't know.
We don't know, but probably that would be our guess.
See, somebody wrote, and see, this is where I was confused too. I thought the dad would pick the boys up and take them to their foster parents and the visit, and that's where he would molest them. I'm confused that the boys were never in foster care. See, you had said something like that, and I'm confused about that too.
Okay, so the boys
Pick that up.
would go to his not licensed foster parents' home
Right.
because he had to be somewhere
Who?
where there was witnesses. My ex-husband. So
Who's
when he picked up the boys,
okay? Whose foster parents' home? That's
they weren't licensed foster parents. It was just somebody
They
to
just
take
took him
care of
in
him.
off the streets.
Yeah, they just took him in off the streets.
okay. So your
Years
ex-husband,
ago.
we're gonna call him Bob.
Hey,
Bob's parents were unlicensed foster parents.
correct.
Okay,
Oh, wait a minute.
Yes, that is correct.
that's where we were confused. So Bob would take the boys for his visit because he had to be supervised to his parents' house, who were unlicensed foster parents because they're not his biological parents. And in that time during the visit at their house, he was molesting the boys.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we just found out this. The visits where he was taking my children during this time to where Bob was taking the kids for the visit, their son that they had adopted is now currently in prison for molesting his daughter.
Who, say that again?
My ex-husband, where he would take my kids for the visit, we'll say
The Smith house.
the Smith house, where they were not, their son, the Smith son, was molesting his daughter, and now he is currently in prison for that. He is serving time for molesting his daughter.
Wow, this is a really jacked up home. So do you think that the Smiths were then molesting the children when they were younger?
Don't know.
Her oldest son went downstairs and told
The grandparents that, hey, my dad just touched my penis. And the grandma said, oh, no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Go play. Go
and
play.
so she evidently told Bob, don't do that anymore.
It is very complicated.
Is this a live?
Yes.
So other people are listening to my story.
Right. That's how I was able to read you a comment.
Okay.
As far as the foster thing, the boy's father was molested when he was a juvenile.
Yes.
So then they put him in this, what we're calling foster parents. And they stayed friends even to this day.
Yes.
And when the boys would go with a visit, the father would take them to this place.
And
that's where we're getting the foster part in there.
but see, they told people that they were licensed foster parents when they were not licensed at all. Because I asked to see my parents were licensed foster parents, and they had a license. I mean, they had paperwork on it. So I asked them one day, I said, okay, show me your paperwork. And that's when they came out and said, well, we are not technically licensed foster parents. But they knew the caseworker quite well, the DCS worker, and that's how they were able to adopt their boys, the Smith boys.
This DCS worker got them children when they were younger, and then
off of a case.
So that's why they're friends with these foster parents. This caseworker is.
And that's
That's
why
what
they
we're
were
saying.
also, that's why they were, why this DCS worker was also able to unsubstantiate on it, because how well they are close to the family. And we have documents to where Bob has put the name right on a cover of a lawyer sheet stating, well, we'll just contact her. She's DCS. And she has put her name on, Bob has put her name on 5 documents for court stating how they were personal friends, and that he can just call her right up and she could supervise visitations. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Man.
So all because I asked to see their paperwork on licensed foster parenting, that's when they come out and said, no, we are not technically licensed. But they know a lot of people in the courts.
Is there some place you can go that will review this without costing $300 an hour? Like a lawyer? That's somebody that can put this all together. And every time we tell somebody this, they say, well, that's not right, or they would be arrested if they would be in this county.
Amazed that he's never been arrested.
And everybody said that there's BS on this, that there's bullshit all over this case, that somebody is hiding something.
Well, yeah, it all is corrupt.
Yes.
That's what we said too. And sorry for my language. I don't usually cuss. I just don't know any other way to explain it this way. You know what I mean?
You're fine. I get it.
So, I mean, this is just, somebody is covering up something on this case, and we need to have it exposed.
Okay, I want to tell you something about the younger boy.
Okay.
He's autistic. She took him to a registered doctor who
As a specialist.
is a specialist in this. She ran him through all kinds of tests, and she said he is autistic.
Mildly autistic.
And so we told the people that where she goes for visits, and Bob claimed, no, he's not. There's nothing wrong with him. The grandparents and the mother just never worked with him. Well,
now he's going back to infantile.
Yes, he's eating food that she takes up for him with his hands.
And
like
he's
a heathen.
And he's goo goo gaga. He's grunting at everything.
And Bob also claimed, and we had paperwork telling all the allergies that little boy had. And he said that we're dumb. We don't know what we're talking about. That's not true. So he kept giving him stuff to make him break out. I mean, you couldn't put your finger on a spot on that little boy's back where he wasn't covered with a rash. She's got pictures of it.
I got pictures of it. I have a video of my oldest stating that why he didn't want to go for a visit, and police said that my kids are telling the truth. A pediatrician said my kids are telling the truth. Adams County Police said that my kids are telling the truth. No child in their right mind with the ages that they were would make something like this up. And no parent could coax a child into saying this, because we had 3 psychiatrists tell us this, that no person, because kids can't remember.
Help.
So if CPS would have done their homework, they would have had probably 200 pages of documents, pictures, videos, evidence, hardcore evidence to prove that my children are in harm's way. And during my visits, the abuse is still going on.
And they keep telling their mommy, please get us out of there.
Please help me.
We don't like Bob. They use his name instead of calling him Dad.
And I told my oldest, he says, Mom, if I tell, Bob's gonna kill you and he's gonna kill my brother. And so finally one day I had enough of it and I said, you go ahead and you tell him. I said, I am not afraid of him. And I had to give him that peace of mind. I had to.
Have the boys been interviewed by anybody?
No. It's locked.
It's locked.
Nobody in their county can talk about it.
The only person that was able to get any type of statements is Sante Group and the pediatrician.
We had a psychiatrist at court,
and
he got sick, so he couldn't testify in court. So he took interviews from police and other workers.
No, not even that. He just watched a video of it.
That's what I mean. Interviews, videos from other doctors, whoever.
No, he didn't.
And that's how he made up his decision of what was going on. He never did talk to the boys. So everything was half-heartedly done. The boys got no counseling. Zero.
They're still not in counseling?
No, they're still not in counseling. Nope. I had multiple, like I said, multiple reports that this was going on. I mean, I tried to do everything in my power to protect my kids, and I was advised by our police in Adams County, and it's all up where he is that they had covered it up. And it's obvious now, it's all who he knew and what he knew, because he would be arrested by now.
Bob's not going to let those boys talk to a counselor
because they're afraid
he knows
that he's
what
talk.
They're going to say.
I think that's why they won't let the boys have visits with us, because the boys were very close to us and the boys would talk to us. And I think that's why they're keeping them away from us. That's my feelings.
Yep.
Otherwise, why would you do that to somebody that you were close to and trusted and took care of you? Why would you do that to the boys?
Now, we will call them like once a month or once every 2 months, and their dad does let
us talk
to them.
So is your case closed?
No, that is, the abuse is, but to get me off supervised visits, no, we're going back to court to get me off supervised visits.
The last time we were in court, he shut everything down, said it hadn't been long enough.
So now we have a new judge, we got a new attorney. It's, you know, we just,
we're broke.
Somebody wrote, and this is something I didn't think about either. Do you know how many cases are against parents for having a mental issue or whatever? And I mean, like, such as anxiety, they have their kids removed, but this guy's got schizophrenia and other mental issues. He's basically unfit to be a parent. That is true. Yes. And yet he has full custody. I'm so confused. And why? You had full custody before this happened, correct?
Yes.
So who ordered that? Was it through a divorce attorney or something?
What do you mean?
The judge.
The judge ordered it.
Which judge? Which type of judge?
Just the family law judge. He was a criminal judge. Listen, he was a criminal judge.
Why did he feel that you deserved? I'm getting to a really good point with this. So
my evidence was not presented in court. My attorney, Thonert said, we'll just wait for a rainy day. We will just save this information for a rainy day.
No,
And
no.
that
Listen,
was our evidence in a rainy day.
no. Why did the family law or criminal whatever judge give you full custody a long time ago?
Because that was a different judge.
He
That
was also in the Navy. He was in the Navy, so
yes, because at the time he was
stayed
in,
with the mother. So then he come back and he started wanting more visitation, so on and so forth. And then that April, he got out of the service. And
he
then
got kicked out of the service because of his mental illness.
we tried to get his medical records. We could never get him. I think the judge wouldn't let him. He wouldn't let him out because our one lawyer said he had him, but he said they wouldn't do you any good. So, and there again, I think that lawyer turned against us. But we tried and tried. We knew he was mental, and that's why he was discharged out of the Navy, because his mental capacity. And you can see it right in the courtroom. He went after our lawyer because the lawyer was questioning him. This guy has walked out of depositions. He's walked out of important things like that. He don't show up at some of them. During a deposition with a lawyer, he was he called our lawyer a dumb dodo or something like that. So they had to stop it and put him back in order. So didn't use that kind of language. He's just had all different kinds of signs of anxiety and bipolar and so forth.
He has medication. Bob has medication, and he leaves the medication all over the house. And the reason why we know this is because during his ex-wife's deposition, she said that he leaves medicine all over the house for the kids to get into.
So, and she would go to work and he'd stay in bed. He was supposed to be watching the boys, but he wouldn't. They'd have to wait on themselves. And this was in the deposition that she gave.
The kids have to take care of themselves. Not only that, but take care of his younger sister. The oldest had to take care of his younger siblings. And so much has been put on my son of being a parent, and it's not even enough time for him to be a kid. It's very sad. It's disgusting.
What's sad is he tells his mom at the visit that he wants to come home.
Both of them do. They want to come home.
The reason that I asked about the custody thing a long time ago was to prove that you were a fit mom, clearly, because you were given the custody. Now, when he came back from being in the Navy or military, did he take you back to court to fight for custody, or were you
just...
What?
Yes, he did. Yes, he took me back to court and he goes, I'm just going for custody. He just got the brain idea one day that, hey, I'm going to take you back for custody.
Well, first of all, when they got a divorce, he told her, and I was on another phone listening in, and he didn't know it. He told her that no girl has ever dumped him before, and that he will get even with her for divorcing him.
And during one time, this is a good one. When we were going, the second time we were going to court, he goes, I was thinking about something. Since we have 2 kids, why don't you take one and I take one, so that way we never have to see each other. And I said, you have got to be kidding me. I said, no judge in their right mind is going to do that. I said, you are disgusting.
Huh.
This guy gets a lot of money from service for the children, for him, and so forth. So he don't even need to work.
And now he's thinking that he's going to take me back for more child support.
Penny, for your thoughts.
What did
Listen.
So when he took you back to court to fight for custody, what ended up happening with that?
We went into court. All the CPS took the stand. My attorney asked him.
No, not
My attorney.
during the CPS case.
No, this is what happened during the normal case, the family law case.
CPS was involved then?
Yes.
this was when all the molesting started from April till
Listen. Okay.
like December when we went back to court?
So in family law court, this is what happened. CPS took the stand. The attorney asked CPS if they had done anything in the reports, and they all stated no. The boys' teacher, all the teachers took the stand, and they all said that, you know, Joe and Luke were, you know, sorry, that the kids were struggling through reading and math, and that I had them in tutoring, and I had my middle one in autism center. You know, he was getting the help that he needed. The oldest was getting help. Everything that I could do there, and that was presented. And then the abuse case on my end proceeded to come up, and that was not put in there. That was not, the judge shot that down on my end. So that is everything that happened, and because of that abuse was not presented that day in the court, that the judge said, well, if this is something that I felt very strongly on, then why didn't the mother say something about the abuse? Because my attorney said, one, we're not talking about the abuse, and two, I was never asked. So looking back on it in the courtroom, I should have been a mother and just flat out said, even though I was told not to, that he sexually molested my children and has put them in the hospital numerous times for an allergy.
Yeah. So, what, honey? Yes, put them away, please. Hang on, I'm thinking. When was the last time you saw them?
February. I just saw them last Saturday through a supervised visit.
In person?
Yes.
Does
During the COVID, it was electronic. I got to talk to them through Google Duo, and they're on video chat. Nobody was allowed to be present, but he was the one holding up the phone. Bob was holding up the phone, and the person even told Bob that he had to find some other way in doing this, that he had to put it on a stand or leave the room or something, that what he was doing was wrong.
And does the supervisor ever, the one that's watching the visit, does he ever say anything?
No, there's been a few times where the kids tell the supervisor they want to come home and live with me, and they have to put it in the report. And the one time when she didn't, I talked to the supervisor, and the supervisor said yes, that anytime that they want to come home and live with me, they have to put it in the report because the child said it.
But do you know if those reports go to the DCS or the judge?
They're supposed to go to the judge, and as far as I know, the judge has not gotten any reports, so it's the attorney's job to present them to the judge. And in 2.5 years' time, there has been no issues in my my visitations, none. That they all said that we have a very close bond and that I am a good mom, and they have no issues.
Somebody wrote, what gave him full custody? You had full, went to court, and what terms did he gain custody? What made you the unfit parent at that point?
Because the abuse never got presented to the court.
Judge
No.
listened to the DCS workers and the CASA workers.
CASA and DCS.
Yeah.
CASA and DCS is what the judge made his final decision on, was the judge and the DCS and CASA.
He listened to everything they said.
Because they claimed she put that stuff all in her head. And then made that stick.
Even though there was proof of it everywhere.
Yes. Yes. That's why they said it's all who you knew and what you knew.
Has the ex-wife come forward with anything?
No, she has came forward with the abuse part between her and my ex-husband.
They're not allowed to talk. Randy
We
and the ex were ordered not to talk.
are ordered not to talk. But during their last deposition, she had said to us in person that more has happened than what she's allowed to talk about. So with that being said, if that was her way of, coming out with the abuse or, knowing the abuse, we don't know. I don't know. But to me, she's just as guilty as he is.
I agree.
I want her to go to prison just as bad as I want my ex to go to prison for this. But time
Grandpa
will
and I
tell.
write letters every Friday for her to take up and read to the boys.
I hear it.
And the night that they were taken from here, I told them,
On cabinets.
I'll look at the same moon. So when you look at the moon and I look at the moon every night, we tell each other good night, say your prayers, and we love each other.
And you guys aren't allowed to see them, correct, grandparents?
No.
William has allowed them one time to see
Bob.
them. Or Bob has allowed them one time to see
We
them.
got to see them for the first time last December 23rd at a restaurant for about 2 hours. And you couldn't believe all the tears, the hugs, and the kisses we got.
Will you do me a favor and just hold the camera?
Oh, sorry. Here. Is that better?
Yeah. What's the next step?
Don't know. We go
Next
to court
step,
is to get me off supervised visits.
we got some lawyers hired that is starting over trying to get us back in court. We did get a new judge. We got away from the one that was there. We're waiting to go to court. This COVID thing has put everything way behind.
October 1st, we go in for Bob's deposition.
I don't know. I hope we got some good lawyers because our lawyers before has been very poor, very poor, very poor.
Not
Matter of
present.
fact, the last one we had that went, he done the appeal, done a good appeal, but then we went back to court a few months later, and instead of getting another judge, he let it go, and we didn't get it changed in time, so we went back to the same judge, which common sense said he's already mad at us, and we're not going to get anything anyhow. So to me, that was a big mistake on the lawyer we had.
Yeah.
And then he was in the Navy and he got deployed, activated. So we've been searching high and low, trying to figure out where we can go to get a fair, honest opinion of what's going on in this case. And you can't find a lawyer to go against a judge. You can't find a lawyer to go against another lawyer. You can't get a lawyer to go against anybody.
When did they move to another state?
Last year, 2019.
A few months after he got custody.
Oh,
How did they get permission to do that?
He never got permission.
Never did.
The judge never gave him permission. We went into court to testify, and he goes, "Well, they're already moved. It's good establishment. He's already good." That was it.
It's supposed to take 90 days to get permission.
Yeah, and he never did.
He got custody of the boys, and then he moved a few months after that.
Wow.
Judge said as long as he can bring the boys to the visitation,
He's good.
they don't see a problem with it. But I see a problem because it's shut off. You're going across the state line. You don't get information. It's hard to get information. Attorneys can't cross the line. It's hard to get one that can. You don't know nothing about the school.
Yeah, I can't even call the school and ask how they are. And my oldest tells me that he's struggling, that he didn't even know if he was going to make it to the next grade because he has no help. And my middle one, he's lucky if he can even read a sentence anymore.
He's 9.
And he's 9.
He is the one that is slightly autistic.
He's the one that's mildly autistic. So my question is, where's the help?
Where's the counseling for these boys?
Where's anything?
Right. Now, there's been several times where
We're not even. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry. There's been several times where you've said you have 2 and then 3. So I'm confused on how many kids are there.
Explain.
I have 3. I have 3 boys.
2 with Bob.
2 with Bob and 1 by a different person.
Okay.
And the thing of it is, they took the other 2 for being an unfit mother, and they left her have the younger one.
And then we found out that if they thought that I really had all this mental condition for the CPS, then they would have removed my youngest from my care. And I still have custody of him.
Okay,
so that again tells me that there's BS.
So let me get this straight. You have one of your boys with you.
Yes, I have custody of my youngest. He's 6.
Bob is not his dad.
Well, that just made this a whole lot more, I don't know the word, but for your...
I have a friend that is a DCS worker here in Adams County. And she told me that if they found that I was really that unfit, that they would have removed my youngest from my care.
It's true. Now, they're saying that you are unfit because of mental things?
Yes.
But yet,
No.
the father is the one with the actual mental things?
No.
You what?
The father is
They
the
took
one with the actual mental issues.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
They took the boys because they said she was alienating the boys against the father. It
Because
was putting this stuff in their head. So that's what they made stick and why they took the two boys.
Okay,
And
and sorry, thank you. So, have you done
Yeah.
psych evaluation?
Yes, I went into a psychiatrist and he did a mental evaluation on me and he said there is nothing wrong with me. And I went in voluntarily. I did it on my own because I got tired of people saying, well, she's mental, she's mental, she's mental. So I went in to prove a damn point. And I passed it. There are no issues with me.
What type of mental exam did you do?
I did a written, I did pictures, there was probably 1,000 different questions I was asked. Pictures of it took about 2 days for me to do. I went in.
Was it the one where you fill in the bubbles and they ask the same kind of questions repeatedly?
Yes, that was one of the things that he did. I think that was on day 2.
Yeah, you can't fool that test. You can't fool that test.
No.
Have you
There was one.
requested that the father have a psych evaluation?
Yes, we have court ordered him to, and he gets out of it every time.
Or if he takes it, we can't get a hold of it.
And if he takes it, he turns in false information. He turned in false information from the military, and I looked at the judge right off the bat, and I said, "That's false information." I said, "This is the form that he should have turned in to you." And he said, "How do you know?" And I said, "Because I was able to pull this from a friend of mine who was in the Navy at the time, and this is the form that he gave." And he said, "William," he said, "Bob, you need to turn this in. You need to turn in a piece of paper that has more on it than that." And that made him mad. That made him angry.
Man,
we've had trouble trying to get information on this guy.
I feel like
Somehow he gets out of it.
the father has something over the judge in some kind of way.
Everybody hears this story says that. What's he got? How does he know the judge?
Yes. There is over probably 20,000 pages in my case, and nothing is to prove me unfit.
This is with what's Craig?
The private
Private
investigator.
investigator that we hired. He's collected about 20,000 pages.
Well, I'm kind of speechless right now.
Just try to get her on supervised visits.
Listen.
So we don't have to pay $108 a week.
What happened? So you were saying that your leg, Sandy?
My leg amputated.
Right.
All the doctors telling me that I'm diabetic. That doesn't help. And they keep telling me that I have to get rid of the stress in my life because stress causes a lot of these problems. Tell me how to do that.
I don't know.
The bottom line is, I want my boys home.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm being punished for something that I didn't do.
So what did Mr. Davis have? Did he have any kind of a follow-up the other night? We were kind of cut off.
Yeah, I think we were cut off because of the
Time.
yeah. You know, you can call his office and talk to one of them, one of the attorneys there. And then when we get off, I'll have my assistant send you his books because they're really good and they're very helpful for court. But I know, you know, the price for him to take the case. Now he has a coaching program where he'll coach your attorney that you have on what to do. If you're interested in something like that. You know, he has different things that he offers.
Something to think about. I don't know.
You know, and the other positive thing, now that you have this video, you can see if an attorney will take your case based on your story.
That's what we're hoping to have happen.
Well, to the point you can only afford so much money. It's terrible expensive,
I get it.
which you probably know.
I do. And, you know, I've had people before tell me that because they did their story and we have attorneys that watch, they got their case taken pro bono.
Wow. That would be wonderful.
That would be great.
So, you know, we can hope for that.
Yes. So will you have a copy of this?
Yes, and I can send you guys a copy.
Love that.
It just takes like a few hours to get it all processed.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So is there anything that you want to tell people that are listening, maybe that are going through it or don't know about it or feel stuck or whatever? What would you say?
In God.
That you need to try to document everything that you do.
Document, document, document.
Keep track of everything.
Document and recordings is what I have done, and it's never enough to either get recordings or documents, because one way or another, no matter what, the truth always does come out.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to get somebody to listen to you.
Well, it's such a long, confusing ordeal.
Right. I know.
I'm so thrilled that you got your kids back.
Thank you.
I'm very, very happy that you got them back.
This is my daughter.
Oh,
She's a
hi, sweetie.
she's a cutie.
Thank you.
You don't like your mama, do you?
I do.
Do you?
Mom's right hand gal, right? And there's the other one.
Hi.
You don't like your mom either, do you?
No, I used to when I was a baby, and when she was a baby.
Boy, you're in trouble now. They're precious. We have 8 grandchildren.
Wow.
My kids are my whole entire world.
Yep.
Yeah, I get that. Mandy, do you live with your parents?
I do. My divorce put me in a financial bind where I had to move back home.
Well, that's a blessing.
And then I had my oldest, and my dad cut his cord, and my mom cut my middle one, and my youngest cord.
Wow.
You've been very involved.
I'm
Yeah.
really sorry to hear all of this stuff. And I'm going to be praying for them and you guys.
Need.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let me know if
Tell the
there's
listeners
anything
we
else.
need prayers too.
What?
Tell the listeners we need prayers too.
Oh, they're listening, and yes. And my assistant, let me see what she said. Please pick up my comforter off the ground. She said that she sent the links, the book links to your email already.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So, again, let me know if there's anything that I can do.
If you hear of any attorneys that would take this pro bono, will you inform us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for letting us
Yes.
come on and share our story.
Thank you for letting us share my story.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for your help. If you think anything, let us know.